Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Gig Harbor City Council meeting of Monday, June 27th. The time is 5:31 p.m. And I will turn it over to our city clerk for a roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barber.
Here.
Councilmember Denson.
Here.
Councilmember Henderson is not here yet and excused if he's unable to make it. Councilmember Likens.
Here.
Councilmember Rodenberg.
Here.
Councilmember Storsett.
Here.
And Councilmember Wook.
Here.
We have 6 of 7 present this evening.
Okay, great. Before we begin this council meeting, we would like to recognize that we are gathered on not only the ancestral and traditional lands of the Squabash Band of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians, but also on the site of one of the largest and longest standing historic villages of the people, the original inhabitants of the Gig Harbor area. And so are there any changes to the agenda tonight, Council?
Mayor, I think we still need to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I skipped over the pledge. My apologies, everyone, if you would join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And thank you, Josh, for that reminder. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Josh. It's a good thing you keep me in line. I didn't see any changes to the agenda. Did I miss any hands because people were waiting for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, good. All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstain? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Council. And we are going to move right along. We have a couple presentations this evening. The first is our 2021 Wastewater Treatment Plant Outstanding Performance Award, which we are so excited and proud of our wastewater treatment plant team. And this will be Public Works Director Jeff Langholm.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to be brief and I'll hand it over to anyone else who might want to speak on this, but I very much appreciate everyone's efforts to continue to work towards outstanding performance treatment plant. As most of you probably know, City of Gig Harbor has received this same award for outstanding performance of treatment plants for 15 of the last 17 years. Is it just a coincidence that Daryl has been working for the city for the last 17 years? No. But do we have a great team here who's going to take over from Daryl and be able to continue with this legacy? Absolutely. So I very much appreciate Daryl's time here, his legacy, which this is a great one. Just kudos to everybody on the team. It takes a team. I don't have to say that. Daryl knows that. He says that all the time. But thank you to everyone and for the recognition by the Department of Ecology. So I'll hand it over to either Ecology or to Daryl if anybody wants to say anything else.
Go ahead, Tanya, please.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me okay, everyone?
We can. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So yeah, my name is Tanya Lane. I am the interim permit manager for the Gig Harbor Wastewater Treatment Plant here at the Department of Ecology. And I have the honor of congratulating your facility this year for receiving the 2021 Outstanding Performance Award. The Department of Ecology evaluates treatment plants across the state for compliance with our National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits. Your plant is one of the top performers that regularly meets permit requirements for pollutant monitoring, data reporting, numeric limits, and numeric effluent limits and other permit criteria. It takes diligent operators and a strong management team working effectively together to achieve this high level of performance. In the past year, 2021, it was a challenging year for many of us, no less for the treatment plants across the state that have managed through extreme weather events and an ongoing pandemic. Turning wastewater into clean water that can be discharged to waters of the state takes effective process control, skill, teamwork, and good judgment. Ecology appreciates the excellent service your operators have provided to your community through 2021. Your excellent record is a credit to your dedicated treatment plant operators. And on behalf of the Department of Ecology and all who rely on and enjoy the waters of Washington State, we thank you.
Okay, Daryl, so being that this is your last council meeting with us, if we were in person, I would give you a standing ovation. And so anyone that would like to, I'm going to stand and give you actual applause, okay? Woo! Right.
Oh, thank you.
Now you can say something.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Jeff. And as Jeff said, it does take a team. This was a little hard for me today. I'm sorry. From Ecology, Council, Mayor, Jeff, the engineering staff, the financial staff, planning staff, everybody, police to help protect us all the way down the line to help us achieve what we do. I have an outstanding team here, and I want to mention them by name because they deserve it. Jim Landon, Senior Operator, Chuck Roy, Senior Operator and Interim Superintendent in my absence. Nancy Nair, well, Superwoman, we like to call her. She's our support staff here. She is amazing. She is totally amazing. Lawrence Washburn, Collections Tech. Brian Fletcher, Operator. Ty Davis, Maintenance Tech. And some new outstanding additions that we've had, finally filling our spots. And thank you to our HR department for just helping us get these positions filled. Shannon has done, and Diane and Desiree have done an outstanding job of finally getting these positions filled that we've been waiting so long for. And Tyler Ellingbo, our OIT, this is our first OIT since we created this position because we were having such a hard time finding operators that we've gone to finding qualified people that have the technical skills, math and science as well as mechanical to fill our needs here. He's passed his test for his OIT test, which will allow him to be a Group 1 operator after his year of service here. Nick Warder, also OIT, and he's going to be another very strong candidate for going to be a great operator too. GC Troncoso, our new maintenance tech. These guys I think are going to be rock stars. I think they're going to do very well. I've tried to lead Chuck in the path of taking over in my absence or when I leave, and it's a few years earlier than we thought, but I think he's ready to go. And it also makes me a little more comfortable leaving with Tyler, Nick, and GC here coming on board also. They're going to be great assets to the city, and look forward to them growing professionally here at the treatment plant. I am sad and happy. Very thankful for the time I've had here. You guys have been amazing. Support me. And my vision of what I thought it could be. And it's turned out to be as much or more than I had planned. And I couldn't have done it without all your support. And I'll quit being a crybaby and say thank you and sign off. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Daryl,
Thank you.
and to all your team, everybody at the plant for their excellent work as always. And we will miss you dearly, but we are very happy for you and wish you all the best. And you did say you have a guest room available if any of us find ourselves in Wenatchee, so.
Absolutely, and it will be open. Like I said before too, Tracy, and that goes for everybody in whatever department. If there's ever a question that you have, something that may be stuck in my brain that you need, all you gotta do is pick up a phone, email, text, whatever. I'm not running away. I'm backpedaling a little bit, but you'll always be in my sights and in my heart.
Thank you. Jenny, and then any other council that would like to say anything, go ahead and raise your hands. Councilmember Wook.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you so much. You know, I was hoping to get one more hamburger before you left. But I remember when I first started 4 or 5 years ago, and I took the round of the wastewater treatment plant, and not only is it the cleanest place in the world, but you make the best hamburgers. And we had lunch there. And so it was a really good experience. I was forever impressed by the dedication and by the detail that is required of all the workers there, and to keep our city running safely, and to keep our city healthy, and to keep our environment healthy, of all the work that you guys do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and to continue to get this award for so many years is not an accident, and it requires hard work. You know, sometimes you get an award the first year and it's a fluke, but year after year after the year is just more dedication. And so thank you so much for the gift that you've given to Gig Harbor, to our citizens and to the city, and you will be missed. And we are looking forward to supporting whomever takes your spot. So thanks so much for being a good leader for us. Thank you.
Jenny, I'll give you one more opportunity. I'm going to come back for urination destination. I'm going to cook burgers for that day. So you can come on down and see me, and I'll cook you up a special burger for you.
You bet, I'll be there.
I'm so glad you're coming back for that, Daryl. That's great. That's great.
And the individual who I'm taking the place of over there, she is stepping into the CFO role, and her husband are probably going to be coming over, and she's afraid that she's going to get tar and feathered, but they're going to be on vacation. They thought they'd take a Harley ride and come on down and see us too. So we're going to try to be nice to her.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe not.
yeah. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Councilmember Denson.
It is going to be hard not to give them a hard time, but we'll try. I've already said my goodbyes, Daryl, but I just wanted to say again, we are going to miss you. I'm so sad, so sad to have you leaving the city, but want to thank you for everything you've done, and also for setting us up to be good to go. You've trained an awesome team. I know Chuck's going to be wonderful to keep us going, and all of the folks on your staff. So we're just going to miss you so much, and your dedication and commitment and sincerity and love for this community and commitment to the job is just, second to none. So thank you for everything. And I've just so enjoyed getting to know you, and I will definitely be visiting you in Eastern Washington.
Thank you, Robin, very much.
Well, Daryl, thank you again. I'm glad we'll see you in July. And are you going to have a hot rod with you, or just you?
Well, if I bring my hot rod, it's going to be a 2N Ford tractor. So
That would be awesome. Well, thanks again for being here tonight so we can honor you, and best of luck to you.
thank you so much, Tracy, and everybody. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Okay, hard to move on. I'm getting good at not crying when I feel like crying. I'm becoming a professional. Okay, so we have Jason Gauthier with us this evening. We're so happy to have you, Jason, with the South Sound Housing and Affordability Partners. I love this group of mayors and council members. It is just fantastic. Jason is here to give us a SHAPE work plan update and let council know what SHAPE has been up to and what we're doing in the future. So Jason, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Mayor Markley. Thank you for the invitation tonight. And I'm going to see very quickly, I'm going to share my screen for you all, and we'll begin. So thank you again to the council for extending tonight's invitation. For the record, I'm Jason Gauthier, the new South Sound Housing Affordability Partners Manager. My intention tonight is to review and receive questions and feedback from council on SHAPE's draft 2022 work plan. For a bit of background, the South Sound Housing Affordability Partners is a voluntary intergovernmental collaboration among 15 Pierce County governments, Pierce County, the Puyallup Tribe of Indians, and 13 cities and towns across Pierce County, brought together to work together to create and preserve affordable, attainable, and accessible housing throughout our community. The IGA went into effect on October 12th of last year and hired its first staff member, me, on April 11th. So for tonight's presentation, we'll cover a few things. First, the work plan development process. Second, the work plan principles, strategic priorities of the work plan, the deliverables and associated target dates with those deliverables, the work plan's implementation timeline. Also, a few items that we're taking into consideration as the collaboration's first work plan begins, and then finally, our next steps. The development of the work plan began formally in December of 2021 at SHAPE's first official board meeting, with the work coordinated by the Cedar River Group, a consultancy that has worked with SHAPE members for more than 2 years. The draft work plan was developed with input, review, and feedback at multiple points from a combination of the executive board, a subgroup of the executive board, and a member staff work group of the executive board. Those subgroup members were Puyallup Deputy Mayor Ned Whitting, Edgewood City Council Member Christy Keith, Pierce County County Council Member Ryan Mello, Lakewood Council Member Linda Farmer, and in Linda Farmer's absence at a few meetings, Lakewood Mayor Jason Whalen participated. The board in working on its work plan, this board subgroup developed 7 principles to guide the work plan development. Those principles were actions that benefit the diverse needs of our member governments, the creation of opportunities for early collaborative success, leveraging momentum from other efforts or new resources, reflecting SHAPE's most important reasons for existence, which is the preservation and creation of affordable, attainable, and accessible housing, creating tangible results for member governments, acknowledging and amplifying the value of existing resources and entities, and finally, framing priorities to get critical work started. From there, 5 strategic priorities were developed. First, develop and support policies and programs that prioritize and incentivize residential construction. Second, refine the understanding of affordable housing solutions and promising practices. Third, assist member governments in achieving affordable and attainable production and preservation goals. Fourth, ensure our communities' affordable, attainable, and accessible housing needs are represented. And fifth, completing the organizational aspects of the SHAPE intergovernmental entity. As I start my review of the work plan deliverables and target dates, you'll notice that some items are in blue. This is because in the board subgroup development of its priorities, there were items that were identified as must do. Those must do items are those in blue. Inside priority 1, we'll look at strategy 1A to identify policies and program areas that have significant impact and/or potential for impact and develop a toolkit for tracking and dissemination. For our deliverables, the executive board will be and is expecting a summary assessment of current policy and program landscape, performance, and potential. This summary assessment will consist of a review of local and regionally produced reports and recommendations on policies and programs regarding housing affordability and housing production. This summary assessment and these reports that we'll review will include, but will not be limited to, the University of Washington Tacoma's State of Affordable Housing for Pierce County, produced in 2020, Pierce County's Affordable Housing Work Group recommendations from 2021, the Master Builders of Pierce County's 10-point plan for housing attainability, the Puget Sound Regional Council's Housing Innovations Program, SHAPE member surveys, and staff feedback. From there, the board will receive a presentation in September on this summary assessment with a decision package of 6 to 12 policy and program options for the board to consider, and then identify 1 to 3 of those policy and/or programs to implement in a toolkit for dissemination to member governments to consider potential action on. This aligns well with the 2024 comprehensive plan major updates for those cities to consider consider action on in that planning. Strategy 1B, exploring potential collaborative project funding to increase affordable housing development. Here we'll work with our member governments to develop a report on the type of partnership funding structures our members would consider engaging on. In priority 2, we'll dive into our collective learning and shared understanding. Strategy 2A is to identify, package, and to share essential data on market rate and affordable housing production. And we've already begun developing interactive maps to show current and future affordable housing development in our community and map out the varying programs that serve the housing needs of people currently living in housing, including our low-income homeowner repair programming, weatherization programming, environmental modification programs for seniors and disabled households. The second interactive map will show the full spectrum of where residential production has taken place year over year in Pierce County since 2016. This will help us begin to answer the question of what's getting built, where is it being built, and why is it being built in those locations. These interactive maps will live on the SHAPE website, which is currently under construction, and it has a go live date of this Friday, July 1st, and then also be made available for our SHAPE member governments to utilize. And then finally, strategies 2B and 2C will continue to build on our core function as a learning and information sharing hub. Priority 3, assisting our member governments in achieving affordable and attainable production and preservation goals. So for strategy 3A, it's important to first note that Pierce County has not achieved an equitable level of affordable housing capital investment from either the state's housing trust fund or the state's 4 or 9% housing tax credit programs. Strategy 3A will provide a baseline for historical information to support our efforts to ensure our affordable housing need isn't unfulfilled because of an inequitable distribution of those statewide resources. Strategy 3B is designed to create a member support system and a feedback loop to review our effectiveness. As an example of member support, we're engaging today with 5 SHAPE member governments, including the City of Gig Harbor and the Department of Commerce, to begin work on a multi-jurisdictional collaboration on the new middle housing grant offered by Commerce. Supporting our members will take on many different forms, but we'll endeavor each day to provide value to each. Priority 4, ensuring our community's affordable, attainable, and accessible housing needs are represented. Strategy 4A asks us to identify local and regional and statewide influence hubs that affect member government's policies and resources and map and ensure member government representation. So I ask myself a question every day. Does our community have a seat at every table that affects land use policy and affordable housing strategy? And the answer is no. As a few examples, the Affordable Housing Advisory Board, the principal advisory body to the Department of Commerce on housing and housing-related issues. This board has 22 governor-appointed members, not a single one from Pierce County. There's also no representation from Pierce County on the Washington State Housing Finance Commission Board of Commissioners. These are the sort of bodies that make recommendations that directly affect affordable housing production in our community. Pierce County is the second most populated county in our state and should have a voice at every table and every housing conversation. Strategy 4B, regarding a SHAPE state legislative agenda. Since 2019, SHAPE members have worked to produce a legislative priorities letter for our Pierce County delegation. As an element of our work plan, we have options for how to develop this priority agenda and how to advocate for those priorities. At the executive board's July meeting, I'll bring forward a short presentation for the executive board to provide direction regarding the desired process for the development and advocacy for our legislative agenda. And then finally, priority 5, completing the organizational aspects of the SHAPE intergovernmental entity. 5A adds to our capacity. We anticipate having this half-time position listed by mid-June, and actually we have it listed today, and we are working expeditiously to bring a staff member on board to support our work. Strategy 5B speaks to the questions still to be answered regarding the operations of SHAPE. We'll review best practices from other regional and sub-regional collaborations and present the executive board with a recommendation memo and presentation in late 2020 for consideration and possible action in 2023. And then finally, strategy 5C, regarding the SHAPE advisory board. That's a piece of background. The SHAPE intergovernmental agreement requires that an advisory board is created within 1 year of the hiring of the SHAPE manager. So we have till next April. The 2022 work plan sets the stage for the creation of this advisory board by creating a scope of work, board roles and responsibilities, and a member recruitment and orientation plan. This is all to be done with the goal of starting board recruitment or advisory board recruitment by the end of 2022. Now on to our work plan implementation. So we are almost in the green now. On our implementation timeline, we're at the end of step 5 and also the midpoint of step 6 and also sort of the beginning of step 7. To date, we've presented to 4 member councils, not including tonight's presentation, with another one on the calendar. And we continue to extend our offer to present at other member councils. We've recently completed presentations with MBA Pierce County and the Tacoma Pierce County Association of Realtors to get feedback on our work plan. and then are working to schedule with South Sound Military Communities Partnership and the Tacoma Pierce County Affordable Housing Consortium. So as we roll to the end of tonight's presentation, there's a few items that we continue to remind the executive board to consider as we go into the 2022 work plan. We've just begun the recruitment process for a half-time position, and understanding in this job market, we may have a difficult time bringing on a half-time employee to support our work. Opportunities. Earlier, I mentioned the work SHAPE is doing with member staff to discuss and work on a potential collaboration on a regional housing grant. These are the sort of opportunities that aren't planned for and can't be anticipated, but in my opinion, need to be a central component of our work, as they have the potential to provide that tangible value to our member governments. It's also good to note that there are items on this work plan, specifically 2A and 5A, that we've already begun work on in anticipation of executive board action. And we'll continue to push forward with other elements before the anticipated adoption of this work plan. And then finally, we've got a 2023 work plan to begin to develop. The 2022 work plan sets the stage for a 2023 work plan, but we'll begin setting that stage before the first is cleared. So finally, next steps. So tonight, what I'm hoping for is to hear questions and feedback from this council that we'll use to refine the work plan and its associated elements. SHAPE will continue to present to member councils and continue its community stakeholder presentations. And then as we move forward, the SHAPE Executive Board will hear on Friday, July 1st, a final presentation of a draft work plan with anticipated action for adoption of that work plan. So that brings me to the close of tonight's presentation. I'll take a deep breath and a pause and look forward to council questions, comments, and feedback this evening. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jason, for that presentation and for your excellent work so far as manager. You're doing such a good job, and it's just it's so nice to see this work going forward and gaining some traction. And so appreciate you so much being here. And Councilmember Denson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Gauthier. Great presentation. I am shocked and very frustrated to hear that Pierce County hasn't gotten an equitable share of state resources. We definitely need to work on that. I am very big into leveraging resources from other components of our government system. So thank you for bringing that to the forefront. And I'm sure that we'll be supportive of efforts to make sure we're getting our fair share of that. I'm also shocked to hear that we're not on that state advisory board or on the Housing Trust Fund board. It just makes sense. We're a huge county. We are providing a lot of King County's housing, so we deserve to be at that table. And thank you for bringing that to the forefront. And then finally, I just love your first priority of early collaborative successes, because I think a lot of our residents, they see these committees come together, they hear about these plans, and they're like, great, one more plan. And they're not really expecting anything to come out of it. So early collaborative successes, I'm super excited to see what that's all about. And hopefully Gig Harbor can be a part of it. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Wood.
Yes, thanks so much for your presentation, Mr. Gauthier. So I would like to know, what are we doing to get on those boards that we're not sitting on?
So there's a few things we're going to be doing. So the work plan does call for sort of mapping out and a matrix, which is great and is good work for a work plan. I've already begun working with the housing development community and the service provider community. There are 5 seats open on the state's Affordable Housing Advisory Board. So we've already got 2 applications in, one from a service provider lens and the other one from a rental housing provider on the market end. So we're hoping to support those applications and ensure that we're continuing to provide our stakeholders with that information and opportunities to serve, and then provide sort of background on sort of priorities from the SHAPE lens as a sub-regional collaboration on affordable housing and market rate housing development.
Okay, and so the interactive map, I take it, is that going to be available to everyone this Friday, July 1st?
The mapping won't be done by Friday, July 1st. The website will be up. The mapping is started. That'll be done. I think the work plan, if I'm thinking back in my head, is we've got a target date of September 1st. I like this, under promise, over deliver, council member. So I think we'll be done before September 1st with those pieces, but we're under promising on that one a little bit.
And how can that interactive map help Gig Harbor with affordable housing?
Well, it can help in a couple of different ways. So the one thing that I like to look at is, if we're looking at where housing is being built and the types of housing that are being built, it's going to be easier for us to work collaboratively as partners, as partner governments across SHAPE, to provide those resources, those policy and program sort of recommendations to sort of refine and get built what our neighbors might be seeing be built. The other piece that I think helps serve a community like Gig Harbor is there are a number of low-income homeowner programs for sort of folks that already live in those homes that I think are underutilized in a lot of communities. And that can be a failing on Pierce County's end as from just a pure marketing effort. But we want to make sure that community members that can be served by home repair programs, environmental modifications, accessibility modifications that are available, that we do hundreds of a year, want to make sure that we're serving the entire community. And the same piece with our senior and disabled household, as a community, our senior and disabled household property tax deferral programs, we're mapping that out as well. Again, to ensure that the community members that can be served are receiving that information. I know at Pierce County, our Human Services Department is excited about getting some of that data to see where are we missing community members in Pierce County that may be able to be served by these programs and not being served.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Barber.
Hi, thank you. That was really interesting. I'm wondering, and I think my question may be along the same lines as Councilmember Jensen and Councilmember Wooks was, but maybe a different tack. It seems really important for us to get these seats at the table, for us to be able to move things forward. But when I look at the plan, strategic priority 4 and 5 don't have any blue on it, which I think you said was imperative. I'm guessing that's a workflow issue and you only have 23 hours, that gives you an hour to sleep. No, but I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how you arrived at those blue marks and why there's no blue on those last two.
So this is where I get an opportunity to put the responsibility or blame on others. Some of these the work plan prioritization was developed in the hiring period by that board subgroup. So that board subgroup, we wanted to acknowledge their work and not say your priorities are not the right priorities. That group worked for months together, and what we have in blue are the priorities. So I look at this as well, and my question all the time that I get from council members, and maybe I might be preempting somebody's question tonight, is can you get all of this done? This is a 2022 work plan. You're going to approve this theoretically on July 1st. That leaves you about 6 months to get this work plan done. To me, these are, and I hate to say it, these are some of the low-hanging pieces of this work plan. Those statewide and regional policy bodies that affect the land use and affordable housing policy, those aren't unknown to us. The work really becomes identifying the openings as they occur, and then working with our stakeholders, right? Whether that's that market rate development community, the affordable housing community, to ensure that we are working to inform sort of folks that carry with them a policy background into those seats. That we can work with to ensure that Pierce County has, not only a voice at the table, but an informed, respected, and to a degree, aggressive voice at those tables to advocate for the interests of our community.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Okay, well, Jason, again, thank you so much. And I look forward to continuing to talk with you about where in Gig Harbor we may be able to build affordable housing, and looking forward to bringing some options to council, hopefully in the near future. So thanks again so much. And we hope that you enjoy this beautiful, very hot evening while it lasts.
Thank you, Mayor Markley, and I'll again say thank you for a tour a few weeks ago. Gig Harbor was the first first member government to offer me a tour, and it was a delightful afternoon and an hour and a half of your time to see the city of Gig Harbor. So looking forward to making that an annual event with you. So thank you so much.
Yes, and eventually we may have a van full, so we'll see who we can get to come with us next time. But that was so much fun with Director Knudsen and with you as well. So thank you again, and have a great evening. Okay, so moving along, Mayor's report this evening. So in the consent agenda was the approval of the city administrator's contract. And although Katrina Knudsen is on vacation this week, she was very sad to miss this particular meeting, but I want to thank you, council, for your tremendous support of Katrina and for this decision to hire her as our permanent city administrator. She has already been doing an amazing, exceptional job as interim, and I'm just so excited, and I know you all are as well, and our staff is as well. And so I just want to welcome her officially. She'll be back on July 5th, and we'll be signing her contract, and that will be her first effective day as our permanent city administrator. So we are so excited to have her coming on in that role. And she'll watch this later so she can hear any comments that you may have later. But the second thing I wanted to say is I just got an update from Director Linghelm and George Flanagan about Harborview Stinson. Just wanting to thank our community so much for your extended patience as we are getting closer and closer to being finished with this project. So the latest, today's work to install the unanticipated water service connection was successful. So that's great. The contractor completed the work and reopened the roadway this afternoon using temporary asphalt, and they will be back next week to complete a permanent roadway patch. So just asking the community for your continued patience as we're getting this finalized, and thank you. I know Jeff will be touching on the Borgen Boulevard emergency repair later, but I wanted to thank our community as well for your patience in allowing us to get that very necessary work done. And I think it went off almost without a hitch. So I just appreciate our community so much. We're doing our best to make our roadways and infrastructure the best that it can be, and help our traffic flow and just keep everybody safe. So thank you so much. That is all I have this evening, and no city administrator report tonight. So I will open up the public comment on non-agenda items. If you are tuning in online and you have a comment that you would like to provide on an item not on tonight's agenda, you can press *9 or the raise hand button on your screen, or *9 on your phone. And then you can also press *6 to unmute yourself once we bring you over. Once we bring you over, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. And then if you could state your name and your full home address for the record, that would be great. So first, Josh, were there any written submitted comments tonight?
There are no written comments for non-agenda items tonight.
Okay. All right, I will open it up to then anyone watching online. I don't see hands raised yet. Let's see. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment on non-agenda items. And we will start with our old business item number 1, which is ordinance 1488 relating to fireworks sale and discharge regulations, amending chapter 8.20 of the Gig Harbor Municipal Code, which is fireworks. Suggested motion is to move to approve ordinance 1488. And this report comes from our building official, Fire Marshal Paul Rice. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. A bit of background. During the Council's October 25th, 2021 Finance and Safety Committee meeting, staff was directed to research the feasibility, process, and procedures required to amend Gig Harbor Municipal Code Chapter 820 fireworks to allow the City Fire Marshal to declare an emergency ban on fireworks discharge depending on climate conditions. These findings were brought to the Council's March 31st, 2022 study session, where further direction was given to contact City Attorney regarding any legal considerations of this proposal. The proposal was discussed at the council's May 26, 2022 study session, where staff was given direction to draft an ordinance which would ban the sale and discharge of fireworks within the city limits of Gig Harbor, and bring this ordinance to full council for consideration. Ordinance 1488 relates to the sale and discharge of fireworks in Gig Harbor. It amends Chapter 820, effectively banning the sale and discharge of fireworks within the city limits. It establishes an effective date, which per state law would be 12 months after passage, which if passed this evening would make it effective for the 2023 July 4th holiday. Ordinance 1488 was presented at the June 13th, 2022 City Council meeting for first reading. The council received public testimony, deliberated, and the ordinance is now before the council for second reading and consideration. I know we have some public comment, but I would be more than happy to answer any clarifying questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Paul. And I also would like to let council know we do have Chief Doan on the line, and also Emily Miner is joining us for Daniel Kenny this evening. Emily, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. And Chief Busey is here as well to answer any questions. So we will now open it up for council clarifying questions. Councilmember Denson.
Yes, Mr. Rice, does anything in this ordinance prohibit the city from having a pyrotechnic display if we decided at some point in the future that was appropriate? It's something we wanted to do.
It allows for public displays, absolutely, as long as they're sponsored by the city.
Okay, great. Any other clarifying questions from council? Okay, seeing none, I will open up the public comment on this agenda item. And as with public comment that I just read before, after the written comments, I will instruct how to raise your hand and unmute yourself to speak. City Clerk Stecker, I know there were several comments submitted, I believe, for this item.
Yes, I have 4 comments that were submitted to be read. So I will do those now.
Okay.
The first is from B. Messiah Rhodes at 5415 36th Avenue, number C203. She writes, I would like to discuss risks and sale of fireworks. This is one reason for banning the personal sale and use of fireworks in Gig Harbor, public safety. Strictly speaking, banning their use is literally a way to prevent the potential for wildfires. A ban will prevent our homes from catching fire from a stray or misguided firework. And most importantly, a ban will prevent the injury to the user. Yet these things may be rare, but ask yourself, are you willing to take the risk? Sure, some say that it's my personal freedom and taking on risk is my own choice. Well said, but there are no guarantees that that risk won't be shared by others. Even if a fire is sparked on your own property and only your home and trees burn down, we are all adversely impacted by that one personal act. That burnt lot affects the value of the neighborhood at large. The cost of putting out that fire impacts city revenues and budgets. Your lost home to fire could impact the insurance of others in the neighborhood. And while firefighters are trained to rush into your fire, your one act puts their lives at risk. That risk may be an individual's to take, but when others are put in harm's way, that risk is shared by everyone. Innocent people are put at risk. A wildfire could be started by a firework miles away from your home, but that fire could easily spread for miles, burning down acres of land and many, many homes in its path. Not everyone will like the idea of banning the public sale and use of fireworks in Gig Harbor, but the number of users is small compared to those who are put at risk. You don't need to touch a firework to lose your house to one. Those who fundraise off their sale will be hit hard. That is understandable, but those sponsoring these fundraisers are literally selling explosives to the public. Dangerous, hazardous explosives. The largest seller of fireworks is a supplier named TNT. While that name may just be a marketing tool, those 3 letters denote only one thing, namely highly explosive materials. So it's time to ask yourself this: is the price of band uniforms worth the cost of fighting a wildfire that was started by a firework? Is the price of sending the high school class on a trip to DC worth someone in the hospital after blowing off several fingers when a firework misfired? What about a home burning to the ground after a misguided firework entered the attic and catches neighbor's home on fire? Is that loss worth the money that was collected at a fundraiser? If you're going to continue to allow fundraisers to cash in by selling fireworks, there will always be these risks. I ask you, please do the right thing and ban fireworks in Gig Harbor. Thank you. Next comment is from Howard Kushner at 4426 34th Avenue Court. He writes, I am making the case for banning fireworks in Gig Harbor. I attended a recent council meeting during which there was public comment from a civilian contractor who was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, and her partner expressing the fear they constantly experience from loud 4th of July fireworks. She suffers from PTSD. Moreover, the fire marshal recently told me that last year's council members agreed to support the limited time for fireworks this July 4th, based in part on testimony from a local veterans organization expressing concern for the harmful effects fireworks have on community service members with PTSD. I recently became aware of a Gig Harbor organization called Permission to Start Dreaming. This group is dedicated to helping local military service members and first responders who suffer from PTSD. They are committed to providing support for these folks who have suffered as a result of trauma they suffered in their job supporting all of us. Furthermore, after reviewing this organization's website, I found that there is a member of the city council who sits on that board. Surely no one in this council would want to allow activities such as explosions from fireworks, putting these veterans and first responders at risk for exacerbating their symptoms or possibly even driving them to suicide. No one would be that cruel. Finally, imagine if a close relative or friend suffered from PTSD, which was exacerbated by July 4th fireworks. Would you want to place them at risk by allowing this activity to continue? Add to this the obvious risk of fire in a heavily wooded community and the potential loss of property and life. This at a time when warming climate and hotter, drier weather, and you have all the arguments needed to act responsibly and ban fireworks in Gig Harbor. If you do this for one reason, do it to protect our veterans and our first responders. Thank you. The next one is from Dave Arterburn, and I will just pause for a moment because I see our Councilmember Henderson has joined the meeting, so I will promote him to the meeting. Dave Arterburn at 4425 34th Avenue Court. Nearly 30 years ago, cities began banning smoking in public indoor spaces as part of a public health objective to protect the public from harmful secondhand smoke. At that time, the same old tired arguments were made as to why this was a bad idea. They claimed that their personal rights were being taken away. How can these bans be enforced? Businesses even claimed that they would lose customers and revenues. None of these things happened. The bans worked and public spaces are all healthier environments to go to. Here we are today. As with the smoking ban, banning fireworks is a public health and safety issue. We would all be safer by banning fireworks. I'm here today literally fighting to protect my life, my home, and my property. Some of you may be thinking, oh, he's exaggerating. He's being dramatic. But not knowing when the next lit firework may take all of that away every 4th of July, it makes every 4th of July a day of anxiety. Is that being dramatic? The next lit firework doesn't even have to come from as close as a neighbor. A fire can be sparked from that next firework miles away and rapidly spread its destruction into any neighborhood. If you think you are immune to this happening to you, you are not paying attention. Talk to the woman in Burien who lost her husband and 2 pets in a house fire that was sparked by a firework. If you watch the video of her home burning down, ask yourself if that is a possibility to any home here in Gig Harbor. I'm sure that before the fire destroyed her life, she was thinking that can never happen to me. Is that being overly dramatic? None of the arguments being made opposing the ban makes fireworks safer to us to use. None. Vendors and fundraisers will ask you to compromise. With what? A compromise does not make any of their products safer. It does not eliminate the considerable risk of fire or harm that are inherent to fireworks. Let us sell only safe and sane fireworks, they say, but nothing about them is safe nor sane. They are still hazardous explosives. Putting a baby elephant on the package of a package as TNT does doesn't make it safe or prevent the potential of sparking a wildfire, injury, or even death. These safe and sane fireworks use some sort of explosive to propel sparks 12 to 15 feet in the air. That is the very definition of an aerial explosive. That is not a ground-based firework. So is that a compromise? I'm asking you today to please protect us all like the ban on indoor smoking protected everyone from secondhand smoke, and vote yes on banning fireworks in Gig Harbor. Thank you. And our last comment is from Wendy Kushner, also at 4426 34th Avenue Court. She writes, in April 2021, the city restricted the use of fireworks to only 1 day. However, while that was a good step, it does not eliminate the possibility of a fire being started on July 4th. Limiting fireworks to just 1 day does not make fireworks safer for their use. Bans on fireworks are in place all across Puget Sound, example given Stillicum, and around this country. Yet people argue that a ban cannot be enforced here. So what makes Gig Harbor different? There seems to be no issue with the enforcement in areas where bans are in place. Some will argue that they sell fireworks to raise money so that their soccer or other team can get equipment or uniforms. This is an excuse. There are many other and safer ways to raise money for team equipment. Organizations like these are literally selling hazardous and dangerous explosives to the public. Do all those cities around Puget Sound that have firework bans not have soccer teams? They seem to be doing fine with their fundraising efforts. Please vote yes tonight on banning fireworks in Gig Harbor.
Thank you for reading those, Josh, and thank you to those that submitted written public comment. We appreciate hearing your thoughts and concerns. I will now open it up to those in the attendees section. I see a couple of hands raised. First one being Brian King. And Brian, if you would please state your name and your home address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Brian King, 5624 43rd Avenue Northwest. And all of the arguments that I just heard, I'll talk about the use of fireworks, not necessarily the sale of fireworks. My daughter is getting ready to start Gig Harbor High School for the soccer team. And just as some of those comments said, a lot of sporting groups use the sale of fireworks as their biggest fundraiser so that they can get uniforms, they can get equipment, they can help with tournaments throughout the year. I'm not opposed to the use of fireworks in especially areas with close residents because there is that fire hazard. However, I do not see why the sale of fireworks should be included in this ban. So for the current proposal, I am recommending that the council vote no because of it including the sale of fireworks. That is something that it allows our girls and our kids to actually work at the stands and get job experience with their parents and adults, early on in a safe and a controlled environment. Stands have to be inspected by fire marshals. They have to have all the safety equipment, and they have to be watched 24 hours whenever they have fireworks in them, meaning that they are as safe as any other area that we have within the city or within the county that has any kind of hazardous material, if not safer. Thank you guys, and I recommend voting no.
Thank you so much, Mr. King. The next person I see is Georgina Armstrong. And Georgina, if you also would please state your full name and home address for the record, and you will also have 3 minutes.
Yes, Georgina Armstrong, 4340 Borgen Boulevard, Gig Harbor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm in favor of the ordinance. While I've been a big fan of fireworks displays, we are now entering a very dangerous era of climate change. Even after all the rain we've had so far this year, we seem to have lost the benefit of all that moisture as we endure this heat wave. The city is embarking on some very important plans to address climate change mitigation and urban forest management, and they will move us in the right direction. At such a time, we need to act in broadcasting a consistent message. Climate resiliency and public safety are vital in the face of an existential threat. I've heard the fire chief speak of his nightmare of having a wildfire in Gig Harbor, and we want to take all the steps we can to ensure that doesn't happen. One errant spark into a dry landscape will create more of a risk than is worth taking. There are other options to watch fireworks displays put on commercially and municipally. So given where we are with rising temperatures, I think this is the prudent thing to do to pass this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next comment is Heath, and I will probably say your last name wrong, Haikila. If you could please say your full name and home address for the record, please, and you will have 3 minutes.
Sure thing. Well, thank you, Mayor Markley. I've got a difficult last name, a Finnish one. For the record, Heath Heikla, address is 6617 93rd Street Court Northwest. So I just learned about this today. This has been a pretty, by at least many standards, a pretty quick moving process that you guys are considering this this ordinance. I did read the recent Tacoma News Tribune article about it, and I thought that was really informative. And what started, I believe, as an effort to try to reduce wildfire risk, which I'm hearing a lot about. And certainly we have a system in place in this state through burn bans and other things that when conditions do get dry enough, we do stop burn bans. And certainly in a year like last year, I can think about the historic heat dome where you could make some changes due to the risk of wildfire in reducing, the use of fireworks or prohibiting them. That really ought to be at a broader level than just Gig Harbor, though, if we're going to make a difference. I am opposed to the current ordinance for a couple of reasons. First, living here for about a decade now, these stands, these small stands in Gig Harbor have actually been a great place to take my little girls to buy a small amount of fireworks to do in our neighborhood. A far cry from the fireworks stands I drove by earlier this week as I drove to Bainbridge Island and saw them sprawling there or on River Road in Puyallup. So I think it's an opportunity to, for, again, small fireworks to be able to go downtown and obviously in the end support local organizations in doing it as opposed to much larger entities where the dollars don't support good causes. In full disclosure, my daughter will be playing next year at Gig Harbor High School. So, certainly that is something we're interested in, but I do think that it has been at least a place you can go to buy safe and relatively small fireworks. So I do have concerns with it, but appreciate the opportunity to testify and thank you for your service to this city.
Thank you so much for your comments. The next hand I see looks like Katie Bennett. And Katie, if you would also please state your full name and home address for the record.
Hi, I'm Katie Bennett, 4421 68th Street Court Northwest. I am the girls soccer coach at Gig Harbor, and we have been running that stand for downtown by the beach basket for about 6 years now. And I get the fireworks stuff and understand there's like a few things I have with this whole thing. Like it came on really quick. You already proposed that we delayed, they're only able to discharge on the 4th this year. And I thought we were in a trial run with that. And just to kind of bombard this and try to push it through, like without even like seeing if it is there's fireworks already going off and they're not being sold by our small stands in Gig Harbor. So I just like with the fire safety, the fire marshal comes and inspects our stands. We have some of the, firefighters come into our stand and we talk about fire safety. We talk with the kids when they're like getting fireworks. We hand out little brochures to them. And it's a great opportunity for our program to be involved with the community. I think it's great for the girls to get that work experience and to work for the fundraising for the privilege of getting to play and all the gear and everything that costs so much and not having to just ask parents for money. And the community really actually supporting us as a program, being able to come out and be there. So I oppose the ban on fireworks. I think that the sale should be reacted. We could just do fountains and the small novelty things, but the big stuff doesn't really even come from us. So thank you.
Thank you. Looks like our next commenter is Wes. And if you would please state your full name and home address for the record, please, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Council. Wes Friedman, 4425 34th Avenue Court. You have heard the arguments both for and against banning fireworks. There is absolutely no argument that fireworks are safe and that they are not dangerous explosives. They are literally designed to explode and produce burning toxic materials. There is no argument that limiting their use to only one day will make them safer. One firework can be destructive, even if it's one of these safe and sane fireworks. It does not have to be aerial to be destructive. Ground-based fountains shoot embers into the air. They are designed that way, and the bigger the display, the more popular they are. There is no argument for waiting a year to see how this year's limit use will play out. How does that make fireworks safer next year? And there is no evidence that bans do not work. That is just hearsay. It takes a fire to ignite a fuse that causes gunpowder to explode, shooting burning sparks, embers, and toxic chemicals into the air. That is a fire source, and nothing that those who oppose the ban say can change that or even mitigate that fact. Saying it's patriotic, it's traditional, or we sell them to fundraise for soccer uniforms does not make fireworks safe. They are products that produce fire. If you allow the sale of fireworks, they will always be used. We are playing Russian roulette with the environment, and every time someone lights a firework. Moreover, fireworks scare and kill wildlife and traumatize those with PTSD, such as our veterans. No one can dispute any of these facts. So after knowing all of the arguments, why would there be any hesitation to ban their use? There is no argument that can be made that says that this is okay and that this should continue, especially if someone can be killed by a single firework. I have asked council before, what one logical reason is there to allow the public to purchase and use dangerous, explosive, and toxic materials that can literally destroy lives? Before you take a vote on this, ask yourself, what do you truly value? Do you value giving a small group the right to play with explosives at the peril of many others? Or do you value protecting everyone's lives? This is the choice before you tonight. What small sacrifice can we all make to value our city and preserve a healthier, safer neighborhood for tomorrow? We cannot afford to make any more excuses. Fireworks are and will always be dangerous explosives, and that's why they should be banned. Therefore, I urge you to please make the small sacrifice and vote yes on this ban ordinance to make Gig Harbor a more welcoming, safer place to live. Will this stop the use of all fireworks? That remains to be seen. But what we do know is that doing nothing will do nothing to protect us from considerable risk of fire and harm. So if you think that this will not make any difference, think about this. If you take away one match, you take away even the slightest potential for fire, and that protects all of us. So let's make Gig Harbor a leader. Let us, Gig Harbor, be good stewards of the environment, nature, and human life if nobody else will. Be proactive in preventing fires, not reactive in chasing them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next comment comes from Alec Clipper. I believe it's Alec. And Alec, if you would state your
Some
full
guy
name.
actually said, oh, we shouldn't use.
Excuse me. Okay, thank you. Alec Clipper, you can press
Yeah.
*6. Yes, if you could state your full name and home address for the record, please, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is William Alexander Clipper, 6222 24th Street Court Northwest, Gig Harbor, Washington. Currently the president of the Gig Harbor High School Boosters and of Girls Tide Select Basketball, former president of Harbor Soccer Club from 2000 through 2003, which my father-in-law started as Peninsula Soccer Club in the mid-80s. Fundraising is very difficult. We have gone through 20 plus years, just myself, of trying to raise money to support the kids in high school and other places where the money does fall short. Your initial about affordable housing comes very much into play. We do a lot of scholarships. Those scholarships are funded through fireworks stands. I am a transplant, being originally Canadian, becoming a US citizen at the age of 15. And what most people don't realize is our first fireworks were shut off July 4th, 1777. It's a long history in the United States. I witnessed it in China, Hong Kong, Germany, and many other countries where celebrations like this are very commonplace. We are never going to end the risk of fireworks or any other. Being human is risky unto itself. We do safe and sane fireworks to try to help mitigate the risk. Climate change is real. Dry climates are coming. We have been fortunate this year with rain. But I would hope for the sake of the kids, which we have a very difficult time funding on a day-to-day basis, let alone a month-to-month or year-to-year basis, that this would be reconsidered. I would vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands raised, but is there anyone else? Okay, Randy Kearley. I apologize for not pronouncing your name correctly. If you please state your full name and home address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Yes. Hi, Council. My name is Randy Curley. I am not a resident of Gig Harbor. I am the TNT Fireworks rep. I sent all you guys a letter earlier this week. Here's my thing. I've listened to everything, and I would like to point out a couple things. I'm not going to go over all of the statistics.
Mayor, if I can make a point of order, we do require that all commenters provide their home address in order to make comment.
Yes, thank you.
3503 West John Day Avenue, Kennewick, Washington, 99336. So here's my thing. There was earlier in the week on June 21st, there was an unfortunate accident in Federal Way where a child, 14-year-old, it was in the paper, he was using a firework and he blew his hand off, or blew part of his hand off. And I want to point out that King County has a ban. There's a full ban in King County, and that happened in King County. And those fireworks were sold on the reservation, completely legal to buy on the reservation. My question is, where was his adult supervision? He was playing with fireworks without parents. That's just a point. Number 2 is that the thought of the trend is that it's to ban fireworks is not true. Tukwila just reversed their ban. They're back to selling fireworks this year. Pasco, Washington, which is in Southeast Washington, which is a desert, they reversed their ban of over 30 years. 4 years ago, they are now selling fireworks. Kennewick, Washington, which is across the river from Pasco, they just voted this last month to reverse their 30+ year ban on fireworks. So for people to say that everybody's banning or the bans work, they don't. They really don't. King County has a ban, and yet a kid just lost his hand. How did that ban affect this child from getting the fireworks? Because he got them on the reservation. Because you cannot legally sell fireworks right now. You can't legally sell fireworks until noon tomorrow morning. This process, unfortunately, and I'm speaking to those that are on the fence on this, this process was hijacked. The initial process was to give the fire chief and the fire marshal the authority to do emergency bans in extreme weather. That was the goal. And unfortunately, because some on the council have an agenda against fireworks, they hijacked this process. And now, if this ban, I want you to hear this, if this ban doesn't go, if you vote no on the ban, and so there is no ban, your fire marshal and your fire chief are still no closer to getting their ability to actually keep the public safe in extreme weather, because they still don't have that ability, because this whole ban or this whole process was hijacked for 3 calls last year, for 3 calls. I think that there's no hindsight on this. You already have a modification that you voted in last year. You haven't even given that the option to go through 1 year. And I understand everything that everybody says, but my last thing, and I want to point this out, is the previous callers that were against fireworks and the emails that were sent in against fireworks were from the same exact neighborhood, and some of them were from the same exact address. Just point that out. Thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate the time. Please reach out to me if you want, or if you actually want to know about how fireworks are made and how they benefit the local nonprofits. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curley. I did allow some extra time there because of verifying his address. So thank you so much. Anyone else from the public that wishes to comment? Okay, seeing no hands raised, I will close the public comment for this agenda item and open it up for council comments and deliberation. Councilmember Wook.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Years ago, Gig Harbor Fire and Medic 1 made a safety proposal to then council a couple of years ago. When that council voted it down, one of those council members said, not enough people had died. Not enough people had died. And that's why they voted down a safety issue. I am hopeful that we can agree that one person being injured by fireworks is one person too many, that one family home being destroyed by fireworks is one home too many, that one business being destroyed by fireworks is one business too many. Thank you to all the citizens who wrote in and spoke on the fireworks issues. 125 of members of our community have written to ask us to ban fireworks. Only 19 have asked us to allow them. Our community is asking us to put their safety first. Our community is asking us to care for those suffering from PTSD. Our community is asking us to care for the environment. Our community has given us facts and figures of the harmful pain and destruction firework explosions can cause. We have seen examples of so-called safe and sane fireworks, and those explosions are not safe. Our community is asking us to be proactive and not reactive. Firefighters have a motto: if it is predictable, it is preventable. The harmful pain and destruction by fireworks is predictable. It happens. Our community is asking us to join with other cities in helping to make this unnecessary pain and destruction preventable in Gig Harbor. Every citizen in Gig Harbor has heard our fire chief say that what keeps him up at night is a fire that gets into our tree canopy. Putting that fire out will be difficult, if not impossible, and all the focus will go on evacuating Gig Harbor, our home. Can you imagine Gig Harbor burning and without trees? We know what happens to 16 when it rains. Take a moment and imagine trying to escape Gig Harbor during a city fire. Everything we do to keep that fire from happening and our citizens safe should be priority number one. When we know better, we are supposed to do better. We know better. Banning fireworks is the right thing to do. I move to approve ordinance number 1488.
Thank you, Councilmember Wook. Councilmember Barber.
We need a second.
At any time, council can make comments up until then. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Barber.
Okay. I just want to say this is a really tough issue and it has generated a lot of interest and conversation. And we may all come to different conclusions, but I am confident in all of our individual commitments to the city's best interest. I've thought about this issue a lot, and like you all, I've talked with many, many people about this for weeks now. And I've decided I'm going to vote no on the ordinance. As many of you know, I like to look at our work through the lens of the problem we're trying to solve. In this case, for some, the problem is fire danger. For others, it's a safety issue or a noise issue. For many others, it's a fun and traditional way to safely celebrate the 4th, and they've done so responsibly for years. Last year, the City Council passed a restriction that takes effect this year. Those elected officials had a debate and did what they believed was in the best interest of the residents. We haven't given that ordinance a chance yet, and I believe we need to do that. During our study session, we discussed different options, including the authority of the fire marshal, changing the current ordinance to include only certain types of fireworks, and more. I don't believe we've done enough research to understand if a complete ban solves the problem we're trying to solve or is in the best interest of the majority of the residents. We have talked quite a bit on this issue and many others about how many people don't even know if they live in the city or not. So this could generate even more confusion. That also leads me to another reason I'm opposed to this ordinance. It should be passed to the county or even state level. When we as a community, as small as we are, legislate on issues at this level, it often causes lots of paperwork and a tremendous amount of work for an already overworked staff, if and when the larger jurisdiction does make a ruling. If we as a body believe fireworks should be banned, let's put it on our legislative priority list for next year. In the end, I don't believe our banning fireworks solves the problem some think needs to be solved, so I will vote no.
Thank you, Councilmember Barber. Councilmember Denson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So last year, when this issue came up and we had a lot of discussions about it, I was very happy to limit fireworks to 1 day. I thought that was completely reasonable, and I have to admit that I did not want to ban them completely. I have lots of great memories of when I was a kid setting off fireworks, and it made me sad to think about the idea of kids not being able to do that in the future. But the more I've thought about it, I think climate change makes me really sad too. And the impacts of climate change are one of the reasons why we are here tonight. I'm not happy about voting to ban fireworks in the city, but I do believe that it is in the city's best interest and in the interest of our neighboring communities as well. We've received letters and comments outlining a number of reasons why fireworks should be banned, but the one that tips the scales for me is the risk of wildfire. The risk of wildfire has increased dramatically in our area, and it's not looking like it's going to get any better anytime soon. This is not about taking away anybody's fun. For me, it's a matter of health and safety. And believe me, I'm not happy about doing this, but I feel like for me, it's the right thing to do with the oath I've taken to protect our city. We have neighborhoods because of our geographic area that are geographically challenged to get emergency services to. And I'm afraid that if we did have some sort of a fire and a canopy fire and it spread in certain directions, we have neighborhoods that could be completely cut off. And to me, that's terrifying. If we lose a home to fireworks or many homes or loss of life and we don't pass this ban tonight, then I'll feel responsible for not having done my duty for what's really best for the citizens of Gig Harbor and for making a choice that isn't easy. Being an elected official is not for the faint of heart, and we're not here to make everybody happy, and sometimes we have to make really tough decisions based on what's best for the community. I do want to make a note that I understand and sympathize with all of the groups that use fireworks stands for fundraisers and have done this historically and depend on this. I absolutely understand how difficult that is, and I'm not going to admit that what I'm suggesting here is an ideal solution. But you know, Gig Harbor, the city of Gig Harbor, the limits of our city is just a small portion of the Peninsula School District. So if this passes tonight, you can't sell fireworks within the city, but you've got the rest of the school district, which is quite expansive, where you could sell fireworks because they are still legal in the county. So in the end, I just want to say banning fireworks is not a choice that I'm happy to make tonight. I'm pretty grumpy about it, in fact, but I am comfortable. I'm completely comfortable that it's the right choice for the city and that it's the right thing to do for the safety of our residents and our neighbors. And I'm 100% excited about supporting an alternative city celebration so that we can come around together around a traditional 4th of July. So thank you. And thanks to everyone who's weighed in on both sides.
Thank you, Councilmember Denson. Councilmember Likens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Markley. I want to echo the sentiments of Councilmember Denson. This has been a really difficult decision that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, trying to hear voices on all sides of the issue. I appreciate all of the people that took part in all of the comments, the multiple emails, calls, testimony. I believe that this healthy debate is a sign of a city that cares. As fireworks have evolved in our state, from the ground fireworks to the aerial firework displays that we see in our own neighborhoods that people buy legally now, I think this has put many cities like ours in the hard position to make a decision to consider a ban on fireworks. I would actually like to see the state limiting fireworks back to possibly ground displays or to make safer experiences for all. I would like to see us, if this doesn't pass, to add this to our legislative lobbying agenda. However, I believe that if we limit to only ground fireworks in our city, like we discussed in our study session, without statewide agreement, puts enforcement of the law difficult for our first responders. As a healthcare provider, I am concerned very much about the safety and injuries from fireworks that I have seen firsthand as a pediatric provider. As the daughter of an Air Force veteran who served in Vietnam, I am extremely empathetic to the PTSD experienced by those who have honorably served our country. I have seen it firsthand. As a pet owner, I experienced firsthand the suffering caused by the explosive noises during this time of year. And additionally, I think the beautiful trees that we have in our city that make so many of us love Gig Harbor and want to call it home makes us especially vulnerable to wildfire risks. The feedback from the residents was overwhelmingly in favor of the ban. And it was also heavily in favor of limitations last year. And I hear the concerns of the fundraising groups, but I do realize there are options other than fireworks, or what Councilmember Denson recommended, other areas that they can sell those fireworks within the school district. I also hear my fellow council members who brought up some concerns in the last meeting about the time to allow for citizen engagement and feedback. But everything I have seen and heard is that most of the population supports this ban. I have yet to see more than a handful of impassioned and important voices in strong support of no ban, even after this was covered by many news sources in the last week. If those who disagree with the outcome of tonight's council vote want to see this as a citywide ballot issue, they have the right to engage in a signature campaign and put this to the voters of Gig Harbor. I have inquired and I asked about this, of having the city actually put this to a citizen vote on the ballot, but it would come at the cost of an estimated $15,000 taxpayer dollars that I'm not willing to spend that way. So with all this considered, I, like Robin, I struggle with this, but I think it's the right thing for the health and safety of our community, and I will be voting in support of Ordinance 1488. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Likens. Councilmember Storsett.
Yes, thank you. All right, I want to say thank you to all the members of the community and council for your thoughts on this. We've definitely seen an overwhelming amount of emails and comment, which I think is great. Encourage our citizens to do that. I want to step back and about the part of, we've already restricted this to one day, which what I would say is I'm in favor of the 4th of July, absolutely. And we haven't even had a chance to see this in place yet. We're talking about a full ban already. And also hearing from, the amount of calls that we actually get of even anything of complaints has been quite minimal. There's been no history of homes in Gig Harbor burning or businesses or property. And it doesn't even seem that are we talking about fire safety? And part of this in a way to me is I feel like it's almost like a cancel culture. It's ending fireworks in this area and going elsewhere. I don't think that that's a way of looking at problem solving, to just say, oh, go and do it across the Purdy Bridge. Like, that's not the problem. So when I looked up the leading causes of fires, fireworks were not on there. It's home appliances, equipment, candles, holiday decorations, electrical systems and devices, smoking, chemicals and gases, lightning, children, barbecue grill, and other fires that just get away from people, right? Having too big of a bonfire. So also, I'd like to add that, historically, we're not out of the rain season. Even in this heat wave that we're in now, it's going to rain on Wednesday, and it's supposed to rain on the 3rd and 4th of July. That's how I always remembered as a child. It was a little disappointing, but in hindsight, a good thing, right? That everything was a bit wet, not likely to catch flame. And I have celebrated 4th of July with usually very mild fireworks, especially as I have young children now. But that's something that I want them to be able to experience at home and not have to go out of town to go and do. So if you haven't caught it already, I do not support the ban on fireworks. As we, at least as how we permit and do it within Gig Harbor and how limited those fireworks are. And we've heard comments of, where you can go and get those fireworks, right? And people will still go there, but they still look to go to our fireworks stands and pick up the cute stuff, the safe stuff for their kids. So the problem doesn't lie in Gig Harbor. It really lies across the bridge and in other areas, where those are purchased legally, then brought to a place where they are illegal. So the problem is not being solved. I would also just like to add that we've seen really, in my short time here, an unprecedented effort by one council member to solicit what I believe is biased, fear-based feedback that has been targeted only to a small group of people, not to the whole broad community. And that's why we've had many, but few, I'd say, people speak up of, I'm just hearing about this. Even though it's been covered in the news, I'd say the march had already started. So I'm not in favor of this. I do want them to be safe. I think we can do better to educate, especially our youth or fireworks users. Pierce County website does a great job of doing that. So I encourage anyone on this call, if you're doing fireworks, go take a look. And then I would also just like to add that, this idea that we've had about having a community-based event and a celebration, it sounds awesome. I've talked with many council members about this. I love it. I think of like a 1950s community barbecue, like out of one of my favorite movies, The Sandlot. And that sounds amazing to me, and I love it. But I wish the energy that's been poured into banning fireworks had been spent this year on getting the community together. And then, possibly look at a shift or go to Pierce County and look at it. Also, fireworks could still be temporarily banned if there's a fire ban. So if there's a need because of the climate that we have, fireworks can still be canceled for a 4th of July. I think people would understand that much better than what's being proposed now. Last, I will add on the PTSD portion, I am the council member that is on the board with the Permission to Start Dreaming Foundation. And I've had a chance to talk with a lot of my friends and family about this topic and others in the community. And I can't speak on behalf of the foundation. I want to be perfectly clear about that. But what I heard was more related to, they just want to cancel it. They want to cancel a day that's been a way of celebrating, our independence and our freedom, and restrict it. So I'll leave it with that. Let freedom ring.
Thank you, Councilmember Storsett. Councilmember Rodenberg.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to make it clear that the current ordinance already complies with state law. It already complies with Pierce County ordinances. And I don't think it's our job as a small little community to set a standard as small as we are, when people can light fireworks across the street from my house because it is in county. I don't think that it's our job to do this. I don't think we should be penalizing people that use legal fireworks for the illegal deeds of other people that use the illegal fireworks. I think currently there's a $1,000 fine for doing those illegal fireworks. I think a few of those passed out, we might get a little bit more compliance with our current ordinance. The current ordinance has been mentioned before, hasn't even been in place for 1 year. We haven't even tried it. I think it reflects poorly on us to be so short-sighted that we can't even give our own ordinance a chance to operate. Mr. King, who spoke from the public, made a good point, and that is that the sales of fireworks in Gig Harbor doesn't necessarily have to be banned because we sell other things in Gig Harbor that people take out of Gig Harbor and use. So I think that the fireworks should be able to continue to be sold. And since it's in this ordinance, it's another reason I'm going to vote no. I think that there should be some action on the parts of the fire protection industry to pass ordinances in this city to reduce the fuel potential. We don't do any underbrush clearing. We don't do all we can. I think that there should be some work done there. And secondly, and I guess lastly, is I trust the residents of Gig Harbor to do the right thing. I trust the residents to be careful and to have oversight over children that are around fireworks. So I think that it's not our job to take away a freedom that they've been experiencing for so long. So again, I trust the residents to do the right thing. I'll be voting no.
Thank you, Councilmember Rodenberg. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor, and I apologize for logging on a little bit late tonight. I think the time change got miscalculated a scoosh. What I'd like to do is, first of all, echo what Councilmember Likens, Wook, and Denson have said, along with the other citizens that have written in and called in tonight. For me, the issues, and I've thought about this as well over this past 3, 4, 5 weeks that we've been discussing this and talking about it. Kind of 4 issues that I've been looking at over time. One's the climate change and wildfire threats. This has been mentioned over and over and over again. Agreed, we understand that it's gotten kind of wet there in Gig Harbor currently. However, our climate change that's happening right now doesn't guarantee that. If we don't take action now, then the next year when it might be super hot and super dry, we'll have no ordinance in place. So not doing anything at this point in time just shoves it to the next 4th of July, and that's a little bit too late. I still remember, even as a child, the safety issues surrounding that. Although I enjoyed it as a small child, I got burned a lot of times using quote unquote safe and sane, sparklers, fireworks, things like that. Another thing that's really bothered me as an environmental engineer is the pollution from the many, many things that are done. Even our ground effects fireworks are throwing out a lot of smoke. The smoke has heavy metals in it and a lot of other toxic compounds. Those do hang around even after everybody's done. You and I and everybody knows there's a lot of garbage that's done from spent rocket bodies, spent paper everywhere. The other thing is, and I know a lot of pet owners will certainly understand this, is that during that night, even if it's limited to 1 day, the effects on animals and on people is just, at some point, we've got to just say, no, it's not, this isn't what we need to do. There've been some counter issues on that. Yeah, heard, okay, let's just do it for 1 night. But the problem is, you don't need 5 nights of fireworks to catch a tree on fire. It just takes once. Waiting for others to ban this at a state level or a county level, I'm surprised to hear that, because sometimes Gig Harbor says we want local control. And so if we are going to take the tact that we need to wait for others to ban something or to do anything, then why are we even legislating at the local level? So I think that's a bit of a red herring. We've heard some people say we haven't heard about this. This came on quick. This has been discussed for, I don't know, a study session. It's been around, it's been in the newspaper. And this has been something that is known. I really want to tell everybody out there that we're not canceling the 4th of July celebrations. We're canceling the use of fireworks and sale of fireworks in Gig Harbor. There's no reason we can't have wonderful celebrations. And I would like to have the city work, all of us start working towards a larger event that can bring everybody together down at the harbor and celebrate the 4th of July. I think that would be a fantastic thing to do. I'd also like to support our fire chiefs and our fire marshal. I know they've been worried about this for quite some time, this risk of wildfires that have been generated. I can't say that to tell them, well, just a single day or a single week a year is enough. Don't worry. So I think based on what my comments, you heard my comments, I'm in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Henderson. Councilmember Denson.
Yes, I just had a clarifying question, and I think I might have asked Chief Doan this last year, or maybe I asked Mr. Rice, but you all, who has the authority to create fire bans, like burn bans? And do you have the authority to extend that to fireworks? I thought the answer was no, but could you correct me on that?
Is that for me or Paul?
Why don't you take a stab at it, Chief Doan?
Well, Gig Harbor Fire is a special fire district. We are not part of the city, for those of you out there. So Gig Harbor Fire has no authority over firework bans or any ordinance authority. So we don't have any enforcement on fireworks or bans whatsoever. That's all a city and county.
And currently, we don't have the authority to ban the discharge of fireworks within the city limits per state law.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any other hands for council deliberation. So we have a motion, we have a second. I will do a roll call vote on this. Councilmember Barber,
No.
Councilmember Denson,
Aye.
Councilmember Henderson,
Aye.
Councilmember Likens,
Aye.
Councilmember Rodenberg,
No.
Councilmember Storsett,
No.
Councilmember Wook.
Aye.
Okay, so this motion passes 4-3. And so for the public, this year's fireworks will be discharged allowed on the 4th of July only from, I think it's 9 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. And this ordinance will go into effect then for the 2023 year. If there is no objection from council, I would like to take a 5-minute recess unless you'd like to just go straight to new business. Any objection for a 5-minute recess?
Let's take
Okay.
5.
We will come back at 7:12. Welcome back, everyone. The time is 7:14 p.m. and we are returning from break and moving on to new business item number 1. This is resolution 1253, declaring an emergency necessitating the water of competitive bidding requirements to address the emergency pavement repair on Morgan Boulevard. Suggested motion is to move to approve resolution 1253. And this report comes to us from our Public Works Director, Jeff Langholm.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. As you recall, the city brought forth a contract earlier this year for a consultant to perform geotechnical work out on the Morgan Boulevard sinkhole area that we found earlier this year due to all the rain. The consultant HWA Geosciences completed that investigation and they found some site conditions and subsurface conditions that were prone to settlement once water is introduced from the surface. And that's what we had, some cracking of asphalt that settled the fine soils underneath. Geotechnical consultant recommended that we remove 2 to 3 feet of existing pavement and subsurface, and then replace it with a structural geogrid, some crushed base rock, and then asphalt. And the city then went to the MRSC Small Works consultant roster that we often use, and from that roster, we reached out to RV Associates to see if they could put together a schedule that would work to be able to complete this project in a very timely manner. After staff found that RV Associates could do that in a timely manner, we worked with the city administrator on June 14th to have a contract signed. And then, as you know, the work began in earnest on the 17th of June. It was a Friday. The contractor was scheduled to complete this work with all their sub-consultants or the majority of the work, at least that required the detour, on June 23rd. Sorry, they were able to complete that work by June 23rd. And the contract that was put together for that was the amount not to exceed $300,000. We don't have all the invoices together yet, but it looks like we were able to hit that mark, though it will be close. There are a few more items that are outstanding to complete this work. Those items will only require, though, lane closures and some minor flagging when the second lane needs to be closed, also westbound. So I have a couple pictures. If you haven't driven out there yet, I was just going to share a couple pictures of what it looks like. Let's see here. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen. This is the westbound lanes after being paved, but looking east towards Peacock Hill. You can see that this is a section showing the one full lane, and then there was 2 lanes in one section that we had to replace. And then looking west towards the roundabout, both lanes in this area were completely excavated and replaced. And then just a little bit between the roundabout and the crosswalk, we replaced all of those lanes too. All in all, it was a successful project. Jake Nelson, construction supervisor, said that when they backed the trucks full of asphalt and what they call material transfer device and the paving machine out onto the crushed rock, he said there was absolutely no give. So they really got a good solid base underneath that roadway. I do want to say thank you very much to Aaron Holst, interim city engineer, Maureen Whitaker, and Jake Nelson for being so responsive so quickly, having some very quick and late night conversations to try and get this work and the schedule of the contractor and the subcontractors all lined up. We had some weather that was barely tolerated, just a little bit of rain in those few days, which we were not supposed to have much rain or any rain at all, but we got it done. So, but tonight we're looking for council to authorize the resolution that's before you to support the contract that was previously approved for this emergency. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you to your entire crew. They really stepped up and answered the call for help here with this roadway. And I earned my orange vest taking pictures in the middle of the road when I was when this was first brought to my attention by a citizen. Thank you, citizen, for texting me that what is happening on Borgen Boulevard. So thank you so much for taking care of this so quickly, and again to our community for their patience and allowing us to make this very necessary repair. Councilmember Wood.
Yes, Mayor, thank you so much. And thanks to our team for getting this handled in a very efficient and timely manner. Jeff, I have a question. Since this was not, I guess apparently we had thought there was a broken storm pipe. That was not the case. And it is that the subgrade of the roadway in that particular location wasn't adequate. Is that what the problem was?
Yeah, there was some really, well, it wasn't the subgrade immediately below the roadway surface, below the asphalt, that the contractor put down per our public works standards. It was just a small section of the roadway that had some very fine silts underneath it that were very susceptible to settling if they had any water intruding. And the geotech who did the work anticipates and believes that the small cracks that were in the roadway, and we actually found a small crack in the catch basin where the pipe comes through the catch basin in this area, and that there was a crack in that catch basin that we're getting sealed up also. Those culminating factors, along with the heavy rains in January and February, just made a situation that was unanticipated really bad.
And I'm sure that you've checked the other parts of the roadway up there, and this is not going to be repeated.
Yeah, they've checked it, and this is the area that we think will be limited to.
Great, thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. So Director Langham, thanks for doing that work. It's great. I'll be anxious to see it when I return. A question though, actually it's more of a comment. The original silts that are still there are probably still there, right? We didn't excavate down to 15 or 20 feet. Although I think with the placement of the geotech fabric, which is not common for roadway construction, normally will prevent this from happening again, even if there are more leaks or if there's another source of water that we didn't pick up.
Yes, yeah, we think that it's going to be able to bridge anything. If there is any minor settlement that might occur nowadays, we'll be able to bridge it with this geotechnical fabric and won't cause us an issue in the future.
Great. Any other clarifying questions from council? Okay, seeing none, we will open up the public hearing for this. And if you would like to speak, or actually, Josh, were there any written comments submitted on this item?
There are no written comments for this item.
Okay. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing on this and open it up again to council deliberation and action. Is there a motion to approve resolution 1253? Councilmember Barber?
I want to echo everyone's thanks to the Public Works team and to the contractor on this. And as a result, too, I move to approve resolution 1253.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
And we will move on to council reports and comments. Yes, Councilmember Wook.
Yes, Mayor Markley, thank you. At the June 16 Pierce County Regional Council meeting, it was passed to approve and send the growth target numbers to Puget Sound Regional Council. This is for our Growth Management Act, and that's going forward to Puget Sound Regional Council. I was also voted to represent the Pierce County Regional Council on the Puget Sound Regional Council's Growth Management Policy Board. And so I will add that to my duties and be reporting then back to Pierce County Regional Council on the Growth Management Policy Board. Last Thursday, I also attended the Commercial Aviation Coordinating Commission. It was interesting to find out this is the group that's looking for a place for a new airport or two. And in 2019, there were approximately 52 million passengers that use airline passengers that move this area, moved around in Gig Harbor and in the SeaTac area. And in 2050, it is forecasted that there will be 107 million airline passengers. And so that's why the man scramble to try to do something. SeaTac has expanded as tall as it can. They looked at 10 cities and made reports on 10 cities or 10 locations about where they could put a new airport. I'm happy to report that while Gig Harbor is still on the list, we were not one of the 10 that was really looked at. And so hopefully they have given up on Gig Harbor. It seems like they've given up on Bremerton as well, unless things change. We are on this list and they will decide on a location by October the 15th. So it will be interesting to hear what location they choose. It will be one or perhaps two locations because there's anticipated great need. Gig Harbor, of course, is still in the General Aviation Committee, part of it, and we're still on that list for general aviation. And I believe from listening to a conversation that they're really looking at Gig Harbor to handle or to be involved in electric airplanes. Apparently their electric airplanes are coming on fast and furious. We don't know exactly what that means, but they seem to think it's a short matter of time before we'll see more electric planes. And right now they're looking at Gig Harbor for that, Tacoma Narrows Airport for that. And we don't know exactly what that means for the any expansion that might happen we just don't know. There's just a lot to say that's just up in the air. But it was really nice to hear that we were not going to be on that on the short list for the major airport. As a comment, I would like to thank Mayor Markley because we can now put our chairs out for the summer concerts anytime during the day. And in the past several years, you could not put your chairs out until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I heard from a lot of people who have jobs that they could put their chairs out before at 7 o'clock before they went to work. But once the time was changed to 3 o'clock, they were not able to put their chairs out to come and enjoy the music in the evenings and to have a place to sit. So thank you, Mayor, and I'm looking forward to getting my chairs down early tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. We're going to see how it goes. I hope that it's going to go very well. And, you know, our community so enjoys our summer sounds. We're so excited that this kicks off tomorrow evening. And I will look forward to seeing hopefully a lot of our community there. I have to get there a little bit late, but I will be there to say goodnight to everybody. And so yes, put your chairs out. We are not responsible, just letting everyone know, we're not responsible for your chairs. Put them out at your own risk. Any other council reports or comments? Okay, well, thank you again so much to everybody who attended this evening and gave comments and thoughtful comments and expressed concerns. We really do appreciate hearing from our community and appreciate your engagement. We're working very hard to increase citizen communication and engagement. And so we've got a lot of plans coming forth. You'll hear from Laura soon on some further community engagement and ideas to involve our citizens even more. So announcement of upcoming meetings attached to this agenda. We have our tentative schedule that goes out into, I think, September, end of September, subject to change and tentative, but at least gives you an idea of what's coming up. And then we also have our strategic plan attached as well. So I think that is it for the evening. I wish everyone a safe and happy 4th of July. We will not see you again until after that. So in a regular council meeting. So thank you all so much. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Unless we all just want to stay all night.
I move to
We
adjourn.
adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Bye.
Have a great night.